Hi, this is Rich Tabor from RPN News Weekly, and I'm here with Paul Zangari from WPRO and WPRV, Drive-Thru Radio. He's the host. And we're also here, and our guest this evening in Middleborough at the New England Motor Press Association is from Nissan. We have Ross Proffitt, and he's the Senior Manager of EV Transformation. And he's brought the new Ariya from Nissan, and he'll explain a little bit about it. We've got a couple of questions for him. So one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of the EVs will refer to a kilowatt, how much kilowatt power they will accept. And that's an interesting question because, I mean, first of all, a lot of folks stare at you blankly when you say kilowatt. The use of miles per gallon or gallons or anything in that realm. But, so you're basing how much time it would take to charge the batteries on that. A car that has less ability to accept the electrons or more will really make that difference. And you've got a charge time of, is it 10 to 80%? That's in about 30 minutes to 35 minutes, somewhere in that range. Am I about right?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And charge rate is really important for the industry in general when we're talking about electric vehicles. And our charge rate, 10% to 80%. Depending on the battery size, we have a standard and extended range battery is either 35 or 45 or 40 minutes.
When you plug that in, the battery needs some conditioning, so it doesn't immediately accept the full amount of power that it's able to accept initially, and then it tails off as you get towards a fuller charge.
Yeah, so it's a valid point. So a lot of EVs today at maybe the 80% mark will start to throttle down. So for Nissan Ariya, 130 kilowatts is our typical charge rate, and as we get to that 80%, there will be some throttle down. What you'll see in an Ariya is consistency in that charge rate, where some of our competitors, perhaps a little bit more volatility, they may have a higher charge rate, but you'll see a more dramatic spike over time.
Ross, I'm thinking you do have, of course, quite a track record with electric vehicles at Nissan going back to the Leaf. So how do you find your buyers tend to charge their cars? Do they charge them at home or do they do more commercial charging?
No, this is a question that I feel like is extremely important because a lot of people focus on public charging. That's where they're concerned, right? They have the long trips, they're going to the beach, they're going to their family's house. But to be honest with you, when we talk to customers, it's around 95% now that say they do almost all their charging at home. And so while public charging and infrastructure is extremely important for the adoption rate and the ownership of EVs, most customers feel that, hey, you know what? I don't want to go to a gas station, but I also don't want to go to a public charging station. I want to take care of all of that at home overnight, similar to a cell phone. You plug it in at 30% and it's 100% when you wake up the next day.
The other thing I'm thinking about is the fact that you're in a different segment here, because it seemed as if, didn't seem as if. The fact is that the EVs all started out as small cars. Now you've got something that's a larger family vehicle. There's a lot of market potential there. Do you see this taking off?
Yeah, I think this segment really aligns well with the traditional ICE segment of the Rogue. Our Rogue, our mid-size kind of compact sports utility vehicle is one of the hottest markets in the industry. So I think when you look at a lot of the other competitors as well entering this segment in the EV space, it has a lot of opportunity to be attractive to a lot of buyers outside of just that compact car EV buyer that you were referencing in the beginning.
Now the other thing,
if I may, Paul, and on that note, one of the first things I observed when I sat inside the Ariya is that, yeah, you've got that look of the Rogue when you're on the outside, but man, there's a lot of space. Your legs stretch right out, and I suspect some of that has to do with the electrical, the way the powertrain is placed in the vehicle.
Yep, you're very aware. So on the outside, when you look at this vehicle, it looks like probably a Rogue size packaging on the exterior, but on the interior, due to the electric powertrain, it is more of a Murano size, so you get more space. And the thing that you instantly notice when you sit inside the vehicle is the leg room. Right? There's no obstruction, there's plenty of room, you can really stretch your legs out, and a lot of that's due to our HVAC system and some of the other components being pulled up into this area where the traditional engine bay would be. So
no frunk there then?
There's no frunk, but there's a ton of space inside the car.
Funky, but not funky.
It could be. It could be.
You know, that kind of goes along with when we were looking under the hood, the fact that the space between the header, where in a conventional vehicle you might have found the radiator to the front of it, but the space between that and the, I guess you don't call it a firewall anymore, is smaller, designed for this, and that gives you more of that space inside the car.
Yeah, so the Ariya EV platform and a lot of EVs in general allow for that compact packaging and to create more space for the driver, the passengers, the cargo, and that's something that I think is really apparent when you sit inside the Ariya, front and back, and even cargo space.
For those folks that do take the Ariya out for a longer trip, let's say we're here just south of Boston, you're going to New York City, probably will have one stop on the way maybe, or you might want to just fill up once you get there. What facilities does the Ariya have that will kind of direct you to your next charging station?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And as I mentioned, that public charging is still really important because people do take trips. People do drive long distances. And while most people will do the home charging for 95% of their charging experience, public charging is real. So before I get into your specific question, one thing that I think is important that we mention is that for the first year of ownership of an Ariya, you have unlimited charging with the EV Go network, and so that's a pretty big deal in the space and in the segment. So through various apps, as well as our onboard destination system, you can locate charging, that either you like, that's on the route, or is a part of the EV Go network that you get for free.
That's terrific.
I can't think of anyone who gasses up at home.
That's very true. I'm sure you could find one, but it's not readily available at home.
One thing I was wondering about is, of course, there's been a lot of talk about the U.S. government encouraging the production of EVs here, and this vehicle's built in Japan.
Yes.
There's credits that are involved in buying an American-built electric vehicle that you won't be able to compete with here. How do you fight that? How do you come back against it?
No, I think it's a good question, and outside of just the credits in general, the value position of an Ariya is incredible. Whether it's the craftsmanship and the attention to detail, the technology that's incorporated, or the performance level that Ariya provides, it's a hyper-competitive product before or after tax credits.
Speaking of competitive product, who are some of the closest competitors that you feel that the Ariya will be up against?
Yeah, there's a lot of people entering into the space, and you see Hyundai, Ford, Kia, VW, even Tesla kind of having their products in this segment that we'll compete with.
Well, I appreciate very much you spent a few minutes here talking about this, Ross. And Paul, glad to get you on board here with RPM, and thanks again.
It's been fun. Thanks, Rich, and thank you, Ross.
Of course, absolutely, guys.
Conduct this. Rich Tabor for RPM News Weekly.